This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net. It is Tuesday, the last day of June, June 30th, 2020, and it's time for What in the World?
With Paul Seaburn.
That's you.
That's me. That's me. And Karen Hale,
Yes.
the New Cleveland Radio.net podcasting mogul, and our co-host and our co-host sitting right next to her. I'm the big Zoom screen up there is John Dinallo and Wide World of Sports.
Hello, everybody. Another week.
Yes.
Another week. It is. But John, as you well know, at What in the World, every week is a strange week. And no matter what, we managed to top last week. And that's the reason why you should tune in to What in the World.
I think people are missing out if they don't.
They're definitely missing out.
Yeah.
Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. I got it this time. Last week, I couldn't remember the slogan. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. And that's what we do here. We have, this is the place to come for an hour every week and hear real news that you won't hear anyplace else. We guarantee it's not going to be political. It's not going to be business. It's not going to be depressing. It will definitely be strange. It will definitely be funny. And you'll see the three of us at least have a great time talking about them. And John and Karen, this week, we are truly going around the world, around the universe with What in the World. So if you're ready, let's get started because I got
I'm ready. Let's go.
a ton of stuff to talk about. We're going to go to Poland. That's one for a UFO story. We're going to go to Georgia in the United States for one of Karen's favorite monsters, the Chupacabra story.
Chupacabra!
Yes, of course. We're going to talk about the Segway and say goodbye to that. Not the verbal one, but the one that you ride and fall off of. We're going to talk about armpit glitter, which is a new thing. And you know how much I like to talk about new things. I've got a world record or two that we're going to talk about. And then we're going to go to the absolute strangest sport I've seen in a long time. Three-legged, let's see if I get it straight. It's three-legged board racing. Something like that. Anyways, you won't believe it. I brought pictures. John Dinallo is here to fill us in on all the gory details. And we'll just have a great time with some other news stories as well. So is everybody ready to go?
Yes.
We're ready.
Welcome to everyone who joined us at What in the World. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching, no matter what time of day or night it is. If you're listening live, especially to my buddies down in Texas, hello. We're always glad that you're here. I'll remind you, go to newclevelandradio.net to find all of the podcasts that are produced by Karen. She does a great job. We have a wide variety of podcasts here. Go to YouTube. You can see some of them also on YouTube. You can see how beautiful we all look.
The manner of speaking, but that's okay.
Yeah, relatively, yes, relatively. But so what? Just come by and have a good time. We're always grateful for that. You can get more details on some of these stories at my other website, mysteriousuniverse.org. More strange news, some of the more paranormal kind, but we try to have a good time there as well. So let's get started with one of my favorite stories of the week. John, I don't remember, you like honey. I know you like honey.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so, and honey comes from?
Bees.
Bees, there we go, thank you. See, it always pays to go to rehearsal, doesn't it, John?
Yes, it does, Paul. I'm always ready when I go to rehearsal.
Honey is bee poop, and yet we still eat it. What's up with that? Anyways, so I just went into a Seinfeld moment there.
That was a Seinfeld moment.
This comes from India. A beekeeper in India set a new world record when he kept 60,000 bees on his face for 4 hours, 10 minutes, and 5 seconds. Now, of course, what was that? And 5 seconds, Karen.
Yeah, but why did he do it?
Why? To set the record, of course. And he loves bees. He's a beekeeper, so he sells honey to people like John. And if you don't believe me, and I know John is always skeptical, I'm
Yes,
going to hold up a picture of this guy. Let's see if
What
we,
is this guy's deal? What is his deal?
those are bees all over his head, his shoulders, his chest.
Paul, if you have a picture of it, I got to believe it. That's all I know.
So yeah, it's really true. My question is what do you do for 4 hours and 10 minutes while you're covered with bees? Well, it turns out he sings song to himself. And a couple of the songs he was singing were by the Beatles, by the B-52s. And of course,
Oh,
so I did a little more research on this guy, and his father was a beekeeper. When he was a little boy, he went to a normal school, but he was always falling behind. So
Oh,
get ready.
Paul, you're 2 for 2, man. We don't want to be 3 for 3 in this one. Come on.
So his father was a beekeeper, so he went into the family business. The mother's not involved with it. It's too dangerous because she has a beehive hairdo.
Oh,
And finally, John, I know you're tired of these, but I got one more.
okay. Let's hear it. Let's hear it, Paul.
Before he covers himself with bees to protect himself, he says a prayer from the Bible, and it's one of the bee attitudes. Sorry about that.
We'll give you a pass on that one, Paul. We'll give you a pass.
We'll move on. And John, I have pictures for this one too, because I knew you wouldn't believe this one.
I am skeptical. I am always.
You're always skeptical. So this is the hot new thing on Instagram. Now, to show you how old I am, I thought Instagram was the hot new thing on Instagram. I'm a novice when it comes to this Instagram thing, but apparently the kids play with it all the time. Apparently adults play with it all the time. And it's the place to debut new products. So the new thing on Instagram this week is women who are sticking glitter on their armpits and then taking selfies of themselves displaying their armpit glitter. And John doesn't believe me, I know. So I found one of the least offensive pictures that I could of a lady who has her pits covered with armpit glitter and is doing a selfie. See those doing a selfie to the camera. Now, one of the things that I admire about this lady, besides her armpit glitter, is that she can hold her arms up in the air like this and manage to take a selfie of herself. That's pretty talented. But why on earth do they do this, John?
I don't know. Tell me.
Is it that appealing to the men of the Instagram age? I don't know. I that's as much. It's trending on hashtag. I think that's one of those words that the kids use nowadays, John. Hashtag. I don't use it that often, so it doesn't roll off my tongue.
I got you.
Get ready. Hashtag glitter pits. If you look that up, it sounds like the punchline for a joke we used to tell in grade school, but it's not. It's a true thing, and it's trending on Instagram. And they're taking selfies. So, of course, at some point you have to, if you want to live with them, you have to apply deodorant. So they have a new deodorant for people who do this glitter thing. It's called the Arm and Scratcher. It came from Dry Idea, which I think they should have called it Bad Idea. But Dry Idea, they're going for it. And there's none for guys. I would have thought that there would be some guys who might want to try it, not like John or myself, but some other guys who would want to try this glitter pit thing. And I figured out why people like John and myself don't do it. Because we're of the generation that still sniffs our pits. And, to see if we're good enough to go out. And if you happen to have a pit full of glitter and you take a sniff, you now have a nose full of glitter. which could send you to the emergency room. And how do you explain to the doctor in the emergency room how you got a nose full of glitter? Even worse, how do you explain it to your wife when she walks in?
That would make a great episode on that ER show that's on TLC, what took you
Oh,
to the ER?
Right. What sent me to the ER?
They're all, yeah.
up this week on ER,
Yes.
has
Exactly.
glitter up his nose. That's the kind of accident that you have where it takes a half an hour for the ER guys to stop laughing and get you to the hospital in time. I don't know. I don't understand it. Like I said, I don't understand Instagram, but I certainly don't understand this glitter pit thing.
Well, going for an interesting point though, Paul. I
Oh,
mean,
really? Which one?
well, here's my central question. Why is it so popular?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know, John. Well, maybe it's the coronavirus. Maybe it's the shutdown is causing people to be so bored that they're starting to look to do self body changes.
I guess that's plausible, right? I mean, that's
I don't know. It's
well, it's on our show, so it's on. So that makes sense.
yeah. So now, and it's only in the United States, I think, but now that it's been on One in the World, this is going to be a worldwide trend. We are the trendsetters here. So,
We are.
yeah, so we have basically let the cat out of the pit, so to speak. And on that note, that's called a segue. I'm gonna do a segue into a segue. Because we're gonna talk about a segue, which was, and I didn't bring a picture because I think everybody knows what they look like. Everybody's seen mall cop, or everybody has seen an actual mall cop riding on those scooters, those two-wheeled stand-up scooters. They were invented 19 years ago. There was a huge 2001, huge publicity program for these things. They were going to be the revolutionary transportation means of transportation for the 21st century. 19 years later, they've gone out of business. This past week, they were bought by a company in China, which shut it down. So it opened, it debuted. It was called the PT, the Personal Transporter, unveiled on Good Morning America in 2001. And there were the big thing. There were gyroscopes in it, so that you didn't have to really apply any effort. It kind of maintained your balance for you. It was all software controlled, so there were no gears and stuff to go bad. It was all under the control of software. They allegedly could go up to 12.5 miles an hour, and they could go for an hour on one charge. So you could conceivably go for 12 miles before you had to plug in someplace. The problem was that they ran out of money. They ran out of money fast. And so they had to charge something like $6,000 for one. So who pays $6,000 for a scooter? Oh. Even today, even during the boom, nobody was paying $6,000 for a scooter. So, and then there were multiple problems. One was you had to go to a regional center to learn how to ride it. A lot of people didn't want them on the sidewalk because they took up too much space. It's not like today with those scooters that are ubiquitous around downtowns that people just pick up, run a credit card through them, ride them. When they're done, throw them on the ground and somebody else picks them up. But perhaps the biggest and the funniest part of the whole Segway history was that day in 2003 when President George W. Bush was at Kennebunkport visiting his father, former President George H.W. Bush, celebrating his 78th birthday. And someone gave the family a bunch of these Segways, hoping that they would ride them and would get worldwide publicity and solve all the company's problems. And do you remember what happened to President George W. Bush on that day, John?
Well, I really don't.
He fell off the Segway.
President. Oh.
And that went worldwide. And it was, Unfortunately, it was bad news for the Segway. It was bad news for President George W. Bush. Former President George H.W. Bush got a big laugh out of it because here's this guy who's 78 years old, jumps out of airplanes,
Yes,
and
he
his
does.
son falls off a scooter in front of his house.
He's not right with that picture.
Oh, the only picture I could find was really tiny. So,
Okay,
you know,
we'll give you a pass on
you
that
would
one.
think you were looking at a UFO picture or Bigfoot, you know,
Mhm.
not President Bush on a Segway. So
Gotcha.
it was so you know that's the end of it. Unfortunately, it was never the big deal that they thought it would be.
Hmm.
So this was the week of the end of the Segway. So we'll say a prayer for the Segway. Okay, we're done.
We'll do.
Now, let's get back to some fun here. So, John, you look like a guy who works out every day, aren't you?
No, 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 really. It's the 12-ounce curls at night that I do. That's the workout. But no, I try to.
John, well,
Well,
you have plenty of company in that group.
Well, yeah, that's true. But no, I mean, I try to be outside anyway. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
take advantage of the warmer weather finally, and yeah, try to stay as active as you can.
Well, what you need, John, is you need some music to work out to. And
Oh,
hell, the popular magazine that for people like you and me to read to get tips on working out.
okay.
This week came out with the 50 all-time best songs to work out to. Okay, so I'm thrilled. You know, I'm thinking, oh, this is great. This will be for my run in the morning. I'll get some of these songs. I'll pick up my pace. I'll run farther. I'll run faster. You know, all that good stuff. So I take a look at the list. 50 of them. Okay, 50. That's 10 hands. Okay. Number one, Power by Kanye West. I've heard of Kanye West. Never heard of this song. Number two, Lose Yourself by Eminem. Okay, I'm working out because of too many M&Ms. This guy, I don't know this song. I go down the list 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have no idea who these people are. Absolutely none. I've never heard of them. I get to 50. I'm hoping. And number 50 is one that you all know and love, and that is Physical by Olivia Newton-John.
You know what?
Physical, well, you know, remember that one.
I'm thinking though. Let me interject. I'm thinking that had to be higher than like 50.
Nope.
How can you have 49 songs ahead of that one?
Nope. You haven't been to the gym lately, John.
Obviously, because of my age, or not age, but time on the planet, I guess, it's not that interesting to me, although it should be.
That's why I'm here, because I found some songs that are perfect for people like you and me and Karen to work out to at the speed and agility levels that we're at, okay?
Why don't you let us have them? Let us have them. Let's hear them.
And these are all by the Beatles, all right? The first three are by the Beatles. So song number one for the three of us to work out to, I'm So Tired by the Beatles. Number two.
The truth hurts.
Number two by the Beatles, I'm Down. And number three,
I know that song.
Help. So those are the three. That's kind of the progression that I have when I work out. I'm tired, I'm down, I need help.
Well, I think Help is probably the most upbeat one anyway, or at least that you will keep your interest.
Oh, I got it. Really, if you want upbeat, Ringo, who was the drummer of the Beatles, also had a song that I would work out to, and that is It Don't Come Easy.
That's a good song.
That is a good song.
Yeah, that's a good song. Here's another one for you that's not a Beatles song for us. Running on Empty. Okay, that's a good one, you know. Jackson Brown. The Little Old Lady from Pasadena. I mean, you know, Go Granny, Go Granny, Go Granny, Go.
Jan and Dean.
I believe that Jan and Dean, and that's about the only lyric from that song I remember.
Yes.
And then if you want to go back to the days when the three of us were in gym class in grade school, the one exercise that all of us could do was the jumping jack. And the song to do to the jumping jacks to is, of course, Jumping Jack Flash by the Rolling Stones. So there's your workout, John, your workout music for tonight.
I think that's very interesting because I don't work out as nearly as I should. But even though I'm challenged, even though I am personally challenged with these songs in front of the three Beatles songs, maybe I'll give them a whirl.
Oh, okay. Well, bring us a report. If you listen to
I'll check back. Hopefully with a year.
and your eyes will be spinning.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, very good.
You'll have a completely different outfit on. I know that. You'll have
covered up now.
So, Karen was gracious enough to mention before that today is June 30th, which means that this weekend is 4th of July weekend.
It
And
is.
that means even though we're all in the throes of a coronavirus shutdown, we're all going to have some sort of picnic. It might just be us and our spouses. It might be neighbors in our bubble, how you define the bubble to be, people you let in. So I was thinking about 4th of July picnics past, and once you ate, or maybe before you ate, there were always those picnic activities that you participated in, the games, the badminton and the volleyball and the frisbee throwing. And one of the picnic games that we always liked to play was throwing the sponge at someone's dad, and usually at their face, of course, because where else would you throw it? And we actually had a board, a cutout with a hole in it, where the dads could stick their head through, and someone would remember to bring a bucket and get some water and a big sloppy sponge, and we'd fill it up and whip it at them, and they'd laugh and drink more beer. So it turns out that this is a legitimate sport that is listed in the Guinness Book of World Records. Believe it or not, a gentleman, and this is that same guy who did the lemonade test and all those other records we've been talking about up in Idaho. He broke the Guinness World Record for the most sponges to the face in a minute. He took 92 wet sponges to the face in a minute. That's a sponge and a half every second. That someone was throwing.
Better to do.
Pardon?
He's got nothing better to do.
No, he doesn't. I don't know what he does for a living. Maybe he gets advertising money from YouTube, because he posts all these videos on YouTube. So he said the hardest part was opening his eyes and keeping them open so he could make sure that he was in the right position for his partner to hit him in the face. So he kind of helped him out. He would move, if the sponge was slightly off. Which, okay, well, that's great. So I thought, well, there must be more to this. So I was looking for the origin of the game, sponge to the face. I thought there had to be some carnival, P.T. Barnum, something or other that was the origin of. I could not find it. I could not find an origin. However, there's another expression that I did find the origin to, and that's throwing the sponge in. So not at, but throwing the sponge in, which sounds like another saying that I'll get to in a moment. Throwing the sponge in comes from boxing. And back in the 1800s, when boxing was very popular, the trainer would have a bucket with a sponge in it, and that the boxer would sit down between rounds, and he'd pull that sponge out and he'd whack him in the face with it and put it back in, and the guy would go back in and get punched again. When the trainer thought that he had enough, he would throw the sponge into the ring. So that's where throw the sponge in came from. Eventually, they progressed from sponges to towels, and that's where the more modern expression, throwing in the towel. So you throw in the sponge, you throw in the towel. You could probably figure that one out. Yep. So not that interesting. So then I thought, well, there's got to be another race that we used to play that we can't do with the shutdown. And one of my favorites was the three-legged race, where two people got a burlap sack, which I'm sure you can't get anymore.
Where would you get one? Just out of curiosity.
Pardon? What?
Where would you get one on eBay or whatever? You'd get it on the internet. How would
I
you?
don't know. I don't today, probably, yeah. I don't think there's any stores,
No.
Bed, Bath, Burlap, and Beyond. I, I haven't heard of that one. Um, but yeah, so you had to be in sync, so to speak, with your partner and move the bag legs together and then the non-bag legs together to get technical on you right here. So why am I talking about this? Because I discovered a sport this week that is the absolute strangest sport I have ever seen. It's called board shoe racing. Believe it or not, comes from China. Board shoe racing. 3 runners together, each fasten 1 foot to one board and 1 foot to another board, and they run. And they run. And I'm guessing they compete for some prize. Maybe for the gold 3-person knee brace, because it looks like the most dangerous thing you could possibly think of. And I know John believes me because we've already talked about this, because he's done some extensive research on board shoe racing.
I truly have.
Okay, so before we get started, John, for those of you who don't believe us, I'm going to show a picture of a teams actually competing against each other on a legitimate, looks like a high school track, or maybe college.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding. Here's Karen, who's just been through expensive knee surgery, looking at it. Isn't that wild?
No, not me.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do anything like this either. John might, because he's the expert at it. So, John, why don't you tell us a little more about board shoe racing? And at some point, I have another picture. They even do relays. But go ahead, John. Take it away, board shoe racing man.
Well, this is hard to believe in a way. In fact, I almost fell out of my chair when I started reading up on this. So, board shoe racing can be traced as far back to the Ming Dynasty in China in the 1500s.
1500. So
1500s, hang on to your hat. So it was developed by Hua Shi, a famous Chinese noblewoman, as a way to train her soldiers against invading Japanese pirates.
So,
has some militaristic flair to it.
Kind of like when we were talking about fencing, military.
Yeah, we talk about fencing and how that related, but let's focus on the board shoe. It trained men to march together in perfect synchronization. Think about it.
Now,
if you're able to move collectively as one unit, you're synchronized.
Yeah.
Going to improve their capabilities in combat.
Here's the first thing I want to know about, John. Did you say this was developed by a woman?
A Chinese.
You better be careful, Mr. Seaburn.
I'm not touching this either right now. I don't know. I'm not making the news. I'm reporting it. Just remember.
I know. I can't believe it though. So this is a woman who makes guys tie their legs to boards and run together in synchronization. And she tells them, this is going to be good for when we go to battle.
against the Japanese pirates. Well, think about it.
You bought into this, John. I know you did.
It's going to improve their combat capability.
I believe that.
But more importantly, it's going to boost their fighting spirit and morale.
That's what I would tell them too if I was a woman.
Textbook. Is it reality? Who knows? But let me continue.
The only other thing she could tell them is that it made them good in bed too. But all 3 of them would have to be there at once.
It's a family show. Okay, wait a minute.
I'm sorry, John. I know it's a legitimate sport. I'm sorry.
All right, okay. Wait. But Hua Shi was eventually promoted to the rank of general.
Wow.
And this is an historical fact. Led 6,000 warriors against these Japanese pirates and won.
Won.
Wait, it gets better. She earned the title of Lady of Premier Rank.
Ooh, so she's famous.
Oh,
She became famous.
She
for
became famous on the backs
this
of
sport.
men. She became famous on the backs of men doing this type of synchronization for improving their combat capabilities and then also their improving their morale.
Well, it was on the backs of boards. It was on the feet of men.
Well, feet, I guess. It's a manner of speaking. Now, wait a
I
minute.
love it.
Fair
I
point.
love it. So,
I'm not done. Wait a minute.
but it doesn't end there, right, John?
It doesn't end there, Paul. I'm not done. So here it is. Trivia items about the modern sport for us to think
so,
about
so,
and
so
laugh.
from the Ming Dynasty till today, and they're still doing it today. That's what
That is correct. That is correct. So get ready, get your pen and pencil ready to jot these down. Or if not, just listen intently. Okay. So this bizarre sport involves 3 teammates running on the same pair of shoes. Think about it. Let me repeat.
All right.
It involves 3 teammates running on the same pair of shoes.
Okay.
Shoes are 2 wooden boards and some leather straps to fasten the feet. Now, you may ask, how long are the boards? They're
Okay. How long are the boards, John?
they're 1 meter long, okay? But so that's 9 centimeters wide or 3.5 inches and 3 centimeters thick, which is 1 inch.
Okay. Now, hold on a second. So just so you can get those measurements together. Here's another picture. This looks like
Excellent
a really,
picture.
yeah.
Excellent. Look at that picture. That it says it all. It's worth 1,000 words, if not.
It is. Yeah, it's worth that. It's 1,000 knee surgeries. Unbelievable.
how the heck do they move?
Karen, there's a video. I if I knew how to put video on Zoom, one of these days we'll figure that out. They move in synchronization, just as John said. Obviously, John, it must take really, all kidding aside, a lot of training to do.
A lot of practice.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking practice, practice, practice. Now, here is a circumstance. Here's a cause and effect.
Okay.
If one of the 3 pushes too hard or falls behind, they can cause the entire trio to topple over each other and lay helplessly on the ground. But wait, then they're helplessly on the ground.
Yeah, they are. That's right.
How can you defend yourself against a warrior if you're laying on the ground?
Wow.
I'm worried about the other team stepping on me.
Well, they could step all over your face. They could step all over your head.
Boy, no kidding. Yeah. This is the agony of defeat.
Agony of defeat. Right. Defeat, understand. A little play on words.
Oh, yeah, but people only our age get it.
That's right, Paul. That's right. Hey, listen, our age is okay. We got this far.
Yeah, right on.
So that we did right. Okay, let me give you a quicker, or I should say a more recent historical fact. 2005,
Okay.
the National Civil Affairs Commission approved board shoe racing, these projects, as an official event at the National Minority Traditional Sports Games. Now, let me repeat this, okay? National Minority Traditional Sports Games. Now, quite frankly, until I did my research, I never knew such an association existed.
I mean, either.
Or a group or what have you.
So this is it. So it's an organized sport.
Yes, it is an organized sport. Absolutely.
Schools compete against each other.
Yes. And actually, in China, people compete collegiately. It's a college sport. One of the top teams is from the Henan, Henan University of Technology.
Oh, tech geeks. Of course, that's the kind of sport that tech geeks get in.
And I'll close.
Because
now that you
play football. So, hey, let's tie boards to our feet and start our own sport. I love it. I love it.
It could be like almost the concept of like, quote, made up sport, unquote. Okay. Even though all sports are made up to an extent. Yeah. I think if you're out of the mainstream of like baseball or football or hockey or tennis.
Yeah, and you're too young for pickleball.
Exactly. It's like it's contrived. It's put together by people who have nothing better to do. But here we go. Let's fast forward.
Okay.
In 2019, the 11th National Games had a total of 54 teams of men and women competing in board shoe racing.
That's what I was waiting to hear. Women compete in it too.
Correct. My first thought is, in seeing that statement or that factoid, is it televised in China?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
You-
the video that I saw was on the news.
Well, you have to think the Chinese population, not to be funny, is vast. And I'm sure, I am certain, wait a minute, wait 1 second. I am certain that there are thousands of television sets in China, whether people are watching TV by themselves or as a family or a group, whatever. So you have to understand in the national consciousness that board shoe racing is live and it's real.
Ooh, amazing,
Wow.
John. Oh,
Oh,
board shoe racing. What we have just put board shoe racing into the American consciousness here on What in the World with.
Well,
with-
I would agree because I think, yeah, well, I think if people want to be informed, and that's why they listen to our show and watch our show, is that they want to be informed.
Yeah, they do.
They can tell their friends and they can tell the rest of their family members. Let me tell you about board shoe racing. I found it about on What in the World.
John Dinello, that's right. You wouldn't believe how much he knows about sport. John, that was great.
Yeah,
That
well,
was super story, John. Thank you so much.
That's okay. It's good to be part of the team. Good to be part of the team.
Board shoe racing. I think we need to try that someday. Maybe for our next frat get together, we could do a frat competition.
All right.
About an hour and 3 beers into it.
Well, a few years into it at least. Absolutely. I don't know if it's 3, but at least a few.
Again, if I remember our last get together correctly, most of the guys were complaining about old football injuries. So on second thought, that may not be a good.
Yeah.
But
Give us
thanks again, John. So now going to we're staying international with What in the World here because we are What in the World. So we're going to go to Poland for this story, and this was my favorite story of the week. Comes from Poland, and I'm not picking on Poland. Even though that's a national pastime in the city of Cleveland.
Yes, in the city of Cleveland it is.
Yeah, and this is the kind of story that could happen anywhere. It could happen in Indianapolis or Los Angeles or Parma, Ohio. It could happen in any of these places. And John and Karen, both of you always complain about the fact that Bigfoot photos and UFO photos are always blurry.
They're
Yeah.
grainy. They're grainy. They're so grainy, I can't believe it.
Get ready, John and Karen, because this week I've got a great picture of a UFO that you are just not going to believe.
Okay.
wow.
Oh, well, you ready?
I'm ready.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to show you the picture and then I'm going to ask you what you think of it before I go any further, because that plays a key point in the story. So let's see if I can get close enough that you can see that UFO hovering right above a tree about 80 miles west of Warsaw in Poland.
It looks like somebody drew a fictitious UFO.
Well, hey, Paul, let me ask you something.
Sure.
The picture of the ground also in that photo?
I had to cut it off, but yeah, there is.
Oh, there is. Okay. All right. Okay, good.
Yeah, there's ground. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's just
Good question, John. You've been paying attention when we talk about UFO.
Well, I always do it. Like I always bring it up at rehearsal too. You don't get any better unless you really apply yourself. So I'm trying to apply myself. So
Okay, so the first thing I thought, and I'm guessing both of you said the same thing, is that sure looks fake. It
it
looks
looks
like
phony. It looks phony.
it
Yes.
looks like if you have a little baby or a little child. Back when we were kids, there were tops that great big giant tops with a
Yeah.
with a plunger on
Sure.
it.
Yep.
I understand. Yeah. Of course.
Spinning around. That's what that looks like. Okay.
Yep.
It does.
So I would have thought that would be the end of it, and I wouldn't do a story on it, except not one, not two, but 3 experts looked at these photographs and all agreed that this was a legitimate UFO and not something phony. So let's hear what they have to say. So the first one, the guy who got the pictures, He's the one who's in Poland, and he has a long Polish name with a bunch of consonants in it and Z's, and I can't pronounce it. His first name is Robert, so I'll go by Robert. So Robert, the Polish UFO guy, got these from a photographer, a man who was riding his bike 80 miles west of Warsaw in the woods and saw this thing. And he said it was hovering above the trees. He could hear it scraping. That's how low it was. The bottom of it scraped as it went over that tree that you saw in that picture. He said that he took 5 photographs of it, and then he had a break in his memory. And when he came to again, the UFO was gone. And he rode his bike back to town. He had the pictures developed, didn't know what they were, sent him to this famous UFO person in Poland, Robert. So Robert, who I looked him up, and he is famous in Poland for studying UFOs. He couldn't figure out what it was. Now, I'm a little concerned about this guy because he didn't ask too many questions. He didn't ask like, did you go and look and see if there were impressions in the ground where it might have landed, or burned grass, which is something that UFOs sometimes leave, or other witnesses. Did he look around to see if anybody else saw it? So the guy in Poland takes his pictures. He says, I don't know what they are. I'm going to send them to the next guy up in line of UFO research, who's a guy by the name of Phil Mantle. Phil Mantle is in England, and he's a much better known UFO guy. Okay, so he gets them. So he looks at that picture and at four others that look exactly the same. I already took a look at them. He actually worked for the British government. The British government does UFO research. So this guy's got a nice list of credentials. He looks at him. He can't figure out what it is, but he says, if this is a UFO, it's the best UFO picture I've ever seen. And he's seen a lot of them. So he calls in his friend, who is a photography expert, who analyzes UFO photographs for him. And his name is Gleave, Jason Gleave, okay? Jason Gleave also worked for the military. He worked in the Air Force. He's seen all kinds of pictures of aerial stuff. So he takes a look at it. So now he breaks it down. He says, well, based on what he can see in that picture, the UFO was 200 feet above ground. It stayed, he compared the pictures, it stayed between 150 and 200 feet above the ground. He couldn't tell what time of day it was. He said it would have been nice if they had told him the time of day. And John, for you, he couldn't find a shadow. So he said, but that could be explained by the fact that maybe the sun was behind the guy.
That's plausible, I guess.
That is plausible. Okay, that's plausible. Other than that, he said he had no explanation for it, no legitimate, no toys, no anything like that. Must be a UFO. So he sends that note back to the UFO guy, Phil, who says, well, if he says it's a UFO, then I say it's a UFO. He sends that back to the guy, Richard, in Poland, who says, well, if he says it's a UFO, then I say it's a UFO. So then it hits the press, the pages, the press. And I did a story on it from Mysterious Universe. I was very skeptical. Despite the fact that these guys are experts, it still looks like something other than a ship that would have flown, millions of light years from another star to Earth. And after all that, isn't watching where it's going and scrapes its bottom against the tree as some guy on a bicycle is watching it. So,
I don't know, who's piloting this craft?
What's
if
that?
It actually happened. Who's piloting this craft?
I don't know. Some alien, some 3-fingered alien. They have weird steering wheels.
Maybe they did board shoe racing before. You never knew that.
Yeah, it's like that Doctor Who craft.
Right. There's a good.
It's huge. Good John. So I thought that was it. I posted my story. People told me they agreed with me. They told me I was full of it. I got all the comments. So the very next day, there's a follow-up story. And I'm going to let you take a look at a picture from the person who took the original photograph, which has a little picture in the corner of what that UFO really was. and a big word superimposed on it that will tell you what this was. Okay, and let's see if we can get up to there. You see the word?
Oh, my
It's a hoax.
Okay, so that's a little toy UFO down there.
Oh.
So now he claims, the guy that who's still anonymous, he claims that he did it as a hoax to prank the UFO guy in Poland. You know, they like to pull pranks on each other. Okay, so then the word gets to the two guys in England, and they're mad because they still think it's real, and they don't believe the guy who admits that he pulled the hoax. This sounds like American politics, but it's actually this is the kind of stuff that I cover at Mysterious Universe in the UFO world. It's what makes it's what makes writing about and researching UFOs so much fun and so frustrating, because I run into stories like this all the time, and I normally don't bother with them because they're obvious hoaxes. And then every once in a while you get something that looks interesting. But for the people who are very serious about this and trying to figure out what exactly those crafts are, this kind of stuff just frustrates the heck out of them. So I apologize to them, but I thought that was, that's what happens when you say that something is the greatest UFO picture of all time. You're setting yourself up for failure. And that's what we like to do here on What in the World. So that's my segue into the next segment.
Failure? Wait a minute. Who wants to fail? We all want to succeed. Come on.
Oh, we do. We want to succeed. That's right. So I promised Karen that I would talk about her favorite monster.
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra. So we talked about chupacabras enough that we know on What in the World, if you listen to us, that there's two flavors of chupacabra. One is the one from Puerto Rico, and for John, I don't know if you've seen this picture.
Yes, yeah.
An amazing recreation of what the actual chupacabra looks like.
Exactly, idiot.
Yeah, it has two legs. Yeah, it's kind of lizard-like. It has a spiny thing on its back and its head. It's a goat sucker. Yeah, it's definitely looks like a goat sucker. Now, the other one is the kind that we're going to talk about today. And this story comes from Georgia, where a number of people in the city of Buckhead, remember that name, Buckhead, saw something that they said they couldn't explain. So, of course, it must be a chupacabra. So this is what the Southern Chupacabra looks like. And that's what we used to talk about in Texas. Whenever somebody in Texas said they saw a chupacabra, it usually was accompanied by a picture that looked exactly like that. Nice and clear. You can take a look at it. And it's obviously what, John? A dog.
A four-legged creature. No, wait a minute. It is a four-legged creature. Maybe it's a pentagon, like from China.
Oh, no. Well, yeah. Okay.
Like creature.
Throw that one in there. So it is a creature. It is a four-legged creature with fur that it lost.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Paul. I'm with you.
Okay. So what's interesting about this story is not so much the creature, but where they saw it in Buckhead. Buckhead. Okay. Buckhead was named for a bar that was run by an old bar in this area outside of Atlanta. The guy shot a buck and put it in his bar. And you know how bar patrons are. They're sitting around one day trying to come up with a name for their tavern. And they decided to call it the Buckhead. Now, I'm thinking it's a good thing he didn't shoot a pig, because then it, right? The pig head, right, Karen? Or worse, he's going through somebody's yard and he accidentally hit the sheet, because then it would be the sheethead bar. You don't want to call it that. So Buckhead is, for Clevelanders, this is like the Shaker Heights of Atlanta. This is a very exclusive area. It's
an elite suburb, isn't it? Isn't it an elite suburb?
Yes.
Elite suburb, that's right. And it's a business area. So, where you have, so there's blood sucking of a different kind going on at the banks in Buckhead. Not the place where you would expect to see a mysterious goat sucking creature. I don't think there's any goats in Buckhead, but there's this creature. So they can't explain it. So I went looking to see if there were any other monsters in Buckhead. And it turns out Georgia has some good monsters. There's obviously they have some Bigfoot sighting, but they have the winner of my best name for a monster competition, and that's the Altamahaha, which is a giant serpent that lives in the Altamaha River. So the Altamaha lives in the Altamaha. I just said that because I like to say Altamaha. The another one, another monster. Yeah, Georgia has these great names. So the other one is the Wog, W-O-G, Wog. A Wog lives in a bog, and it looks like a dog.
Oh,
it dates back to Native Americans. This bog is called the Nodoro Rock in Creek language, and it means, I love this, gateway to hell. So what they used to do, and we'll get a little gross here, when they executed prisoners, or quite possibly when they executed Europeans, they dumped them into the bog, hoping that the Wog would eat them and protect them in the future from this kind of stuff. So it could be that the Wog is some creature from hell. We don't really know. Unfortunately, that's not what the creature is that's roaming around Buckhead right now. It appears that one, from all the experts that weighed in on it on the internet, of course, it's a fox, which are common in that area, and it's got mange because when they get hungry, their immune system drops, and one of the first things that happens is the way it's a sign they lose their hair. So I think the actual Chupacabra, Karen's favorite monster, should sue for defamation of character because
I think so.
Yeah, these are not goats. These are not legitimate goat suckers here. If you want to call yourself a Chupacabra, you better be able to stand on two legs and grab a goat and suck the blood out, and then we'll talk.
Wow, it's really boiling down to like how legitimate the, Chupacabra is, right? I mean, that's how you really judge it to make sure that he's legitimate.
That's a story for another show, John.
Hey, maybe we can do it. Maybe we can do it within the next couple of weeks.
Well, I'd like to do a road trip. Once we can travel again, but we'll have Karen dip into the
budget.
What in the world budget? Yeah, the bucket, the bucket that we throw nickels into when we used to be able to come to visit.
Where are you go, Cuyahoga Falls or what? I mean.
Yes, budget here. We're like all podcasts,
There we go.
That's why you don't see podcasts going on remote locations very often.
Not yet.
But we're all dressed in these spiffy outfits.
Yes,
so what we should do, though, by the way, is we should run a little wagering, a little a bookie joint to allow wagering on our next segment, which is Bluff the Co-Host, everybody's favorite game. Because I think a lot of people tune in just for Bluff the Co-Host, and they do like to bet on whether I can bluff John and Karen with my stories.
Well, I just want you to know, out of the corner of my eye, I'm watching the YouTube play of what we're doing here.
Yes.
And there are millions of people watching us right now. So I'm sure they would wager.
Comments like, I wish I could bet $10 on Karen.
Yes, exactly. Like millions.
I'm on John. Yeah.
Smart money's on me. What are you talking
about? The purpose of the purpose of what in the world? No, purpose of Bluff the Co-Host. I have 3 stories, just very similar to the ones we've been talking about this afternoon for an hour, except for one major difference, and that is that some of them may be true, some of them may be real, some of them may be a bluff. Could be 1, could be 2, could be all 3 of or some combination of thereof. It's up to Karen and John to determine after I read them whether it's a real story or it's a bluff. So, are you ready? Just pretend.
I am ready.
At home. Hands on the buzzers there. And here comes story number 1. If you're planning to become a space tourist, just so you can take photographs from space and rub your friends' noses in them. But you can't put your application in because you're still stuck at home because of the coronavirus shutdown. You can still smell like you just came back from infinity and beyond. NASA has developed a perfume that smells like outer space called Eau De Space. That's E-A-U-O, the French O. Eau De Space. And a startup company is bringing it to market. Now, Eau De Space is based on descriptions from astronauts, descriptions from astronauts on how space smells. And according to them, it smells like a combination of gunpowder, grilled steak, raspberries, and rum. Now, if you think that smells too much like your family reunion, they suggest splashing it on and then wearing underwear that smells like you've had them on for 2 weeks, and you'll smell like you just came back from space. So, other than that last little line in there, Eau De Space, the perfume that makes you smell like you were in outer space, courtesy of NASA's astronauts. What do you think, John? Real or a bluff?
Oh, Paul, this has got to be a bluff. How can that be? I mean, I understand it's possible. It's fake. It's as fake as the day is long. That's what I say. It's fake.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Very adamant about that. How about you, Karen?
I'm going to say it's true.
Oh, Karen thinks it's true. Karen probably looking in her purse right now to see if she can afford a bottle of Eau De Space.
Right, I am. Yes.
So Karen says it's true. John says it's a bluff. Karen, you're up 1-0. That is a true thing. Eau De Space comes in a cute little bottle, a little package with a spaceman on the front, and that's what it smells like: gunpowder, grilled steak, raspberries, and rum. And the astronauts that have been up for months and months and months and have gone on spacewalks, I mean, they don't open the window and take a deep breath. I don't think you can do that.
Wait 1 second, though. This is not sour grapes by me, okay? Because I gather it is true. What is the cost of this? What does it cost to do this? Is it unknown? Is it unknown?
I don't know, John. So I'm going to make up an answer. NASA donated.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, they interviewed the astronauts, and the astronauts said this is what it smelled like. So the cost of doing business and the startup costs are not very high. And remember, we're talking about smells of gunpowder, grilled steak, raspberries, and rum. Those are all odors that are pretty common. So,
and yeah, again, it's like your last cookout or whatever, like you said.
like my family reunion. That's
not too far off.
Oh, but what's that smell? Oh, I just got back from reunion. Anyway.
Oh my!
I'm sorry for all the bubbas out there listening. So it's 1-0, Karen. Let's move on to story number 2.
Okay.
A man in Steubenville, Ohio, is thrilled after he found his favorite pair of Elvis boxer shorts hanging on a mailbox over 7 years after he lost them. The man claimed he last wore the shorts to the gym and left them in his locker when he had to run out quickly to get back to work. Someone apparently picked them up and took them home, never bothering to look inside and see that the man had his name written right next to Elvis's. After verifying that they were his, the man went to the door of the house connected with the mailbox that had the boxer shorts on it. Where he knocked on the door, the owner came and said that he found them in a box left by the previous owner. He tried to sell them at a garage sale recently, and when he couldn't get rid of them, put them on the mailbox, hoping that someone would take the Elvis boxing shorts. It just so happened that the man was driving past on that day, saw the Elvis boxer shorts that were his favorites, found his name inside of them. He was so grateful. He asked the owner of the house if he could use the bathroom to put the boxer shorts on to wear back home. So the man who found his favorite Elvis boxer shorts 7 years after he lost them, hanging on a mailbox in Steubenville, Ohio, right down the road from here, a mere 4-hour drive. What do you think? We'll go with Karen first. Karen, real or bluff?
Okay, well, if it is real, he didn't go in the guy's house and put them on. That was a fake. Um, but you know what? I'm gonna go along with my gut, and I'm gonna say real.
Have you seen Elvis boxer shorts? Does Rich have a pair?
No, but I've seen them online.
Oh, I was going to say, would he like a pair?
No, no.
Okay, so Karen says it's real. John, how about you?
Hey, Paul, I'm going to pray it's a bluff. Because, okay, I mean, it's ridiculous. my way of thinking, that's ridiculous.
More ridiculous than Eau De Space? Okay, John.
No, I'm just saying, I think it's fake. I think it's a bluff.
Okay, so John says it's a bluff. Karen says it's real. We are now tied. John, it definitely is a bluff.
Good, John.
Sorry, Karen.
Thanks.
Okay, all right. So let's move right along here. To so scores tied 1-1. Question number 3. Points are doubled. Here we go. Question number 3. Story number 3. If you thought things couldn't get any worse in 2020, they just did. Heinz, the maker of ketchup, mayo, mustard, and other condiments, has teamed up with dairy experts to create do-it-yourself kits for making Heinz ketchup ice cream, Heinz mayo ice cream, Heinz barbecue sauce ice cream, and other really gross flavors. The kits cost $18 and include condiment-flavored sauce, a scoop, a spoon, a tub of ice cream, and instructions for making the ketchup ice cream or whatever condiment you happen to buy. The kit also includes recipes for variations on the themes, like adding apples and blackberries to the mayo ice cream and bacon bits to the barbecue sauce ice cream. The Heinz condiment ice cream kit are only available in England right now, where fans are hoping the company comes out with a kit for ice cream that tastes like the famous Heinz baked beans that are so popular in India. In fact, they could call it the Heinz vanilla bean beans. So, the ketchup flavored ice cream kits from Heinz. That was the thing for your 4th of July picnic, John. What do you think? Real or bluff?
You know what? I'm going to say bluff. I'm going with my gut instinct on that. But I would not be surprised if it's true, but I'm going to say it's a bluff.
John says it's a bluff. You've been to England, haven't you? You've
been to Scotland and been to Ireland, but not to England.
Oh, okay. Well, I should have said UK because I think
I've been to UK. Yes.
All right. Oh, Karen's really thinking hard about this.
I am. I've been thinking really hard about it, and I just read somebody online who got one of these ice cream kits. I don't know if it's this one, okay?
Okay.
But I'm going to say it's true because it's so stupid and so gross.
Oh, so you use the lovely Donna strategy.
Yes. I'm using
so gross, it must be true. Okay, so Karen says it's true. John says it's a bluff. Karen leaves a winner. All right.
Oh,
Sorry, John.
I'm
That's
sorry.
right. I lost to a good opponent. I'm in a losing streak. I can't get out of my own way. I gotta study up. I gotta do something.
You need to spend more time on the internet.
That's what you should do. Absolutely.
I think you're thinking logically, John. And when you think logically, none of these should be true.
I know, Karen. That seems to be the case. It really does.
Right. Logic is banned on What in the World. That's right. We suspend all belief for 1 hour and just come to have a good time. And I hope everybody had a good time today.
Oh, it was great as usual. Let me have one quick note on this, though.
Oh, sure.
Are any of us interested in trying to taste these flavors?
Oh, I certainly would. I would
have to stay away. This whole idea of it's gross. I don't think I would do it.
One of my favorite TV shows of all time was I think it was called Strange Food with Andrew Zimmer.
Oh yeah, Bizarre Foods. Bizarre.
Right. I loved that show when he would go all over the world, and
He would eat the insects and he would eat all. Yeah.
I love to try that kind of. And whenever that's the way you learn about a culture. You sit down and you eat what they eat. You eat.
Oh, I would tend to agree with that, but it's just, I like
You
ice
go
cream.
to England, you eat the Heinz ketchup ice cream, like
No.
the Queen and Phil and Chuck and.
Whatever you say, but just because you want to eat some insects, I'll go collect some out in my backyard. And
will you prepare them?
no, I will bring them over, leave them on your front stoop.
How about the chocolate covered?
Stoop bugs, like Mom used to make. I remember those. Old Slovak recipe. I think we're really fast deteriorating here. So I'm going to say thank you, Karen.
We should wrap up.
We should. Thank you, Karen, for hosting on nuclearradio.net, the place to have your podcast these days. If you're thinking about doing a podcast, contact Karen through nuclearradio.net, and she'll give you all the details, and you can have as much fun as we're having. And I want to thank my old friend John one more time for his great stories and his great laughs and his great insight.
You're great. Thank you. Thanks again.
Hope everyone has a happy 4th of July, happy and safe 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, safe 4th, everybody. Take care.
Don't forget, wear your mask. It's a good thing to do.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Sure.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Okay. Good night. Take care.